Hey, what's up, everybody? It is Chris, and wow, what a wild week it's been. I get to look at stocks all day, so that can drive you nuts. But yeah, it's been crazy. Seeing the big swings percentage-wise in the stock market has been nuts. And luckily, I've been able to start putting some dry powder to work in different different buckets. A big believer in kind of speculating, but also believing in tangible things like obviously precious metals. Gives me a lot of flexibility, and I like that at the end of the day. But to see something swing like full percentage points on anything, that's a big swing. And I mean, when you look at the silver and gold prices the last few days, it's been moving around mostly to the downside. But I mean, give it some credit. It's kind of holding its own around the mid 22s, but pretty crazy. So today, first, I wanted to show you. If you didn't catch my last video, these guys were my newest addition from the coin shop, or some of my newest additions. These are Monarch Metals cast bars. I believe they're cast. There we go. Cast bars. And they're pretty cool. Like I said, as far as like a chunky 2-ounce bar, it's pretty nice. That in comparison with the other Monarch bars. So this is the 3-ounce version. Not quite as chunky, more of like a long block. And then of course you have the 1-ounce version, which is like a little loaf. But they're pretty crazy. They're actually pretty nice. And I think as far as like in the stacking world, if you're gonna buy from the bullion dealers, the only brand or thing I've seen that's kind of comparable would be like the 9 Fine Mint series from Atmex, and I believe it's Atmex. And when they advertise these guys online, they look pretty nice in the in the display and that kind of thing, like in the pictures. But the reality is, I mean, it's a nice weight bar, chunky, small, just a nice cast bar. But I feel like the Monarch ones are definitely nicer. Now these guys, like whenever I keep picking these up, and it's because they're, like I said, they're very interesting. They're something like that I wanna. Honestly, when I pick these up, you know what I think of? I think of craps dice. Makes me wanna throw them, roll them, see what they come up as, heads or tails. But yeah, like I said, like versus like the competitors like 9 Fine Mint or things like that, I think these Monarch bars are definitely a good addition to the stack. And then of course like the new 2022 Kangaroo. It's a good looking piece. It's a good looking thing. I gotta put it back in the flip. Yes, I'm handling it, but you know what? End of the day, it's a bullion coin. It's not that big a deal. Look how shiny that is. That's crazy. I can't even focus on it because it's so shiny. But it's nice. I mean, honestly, even the let's see, there's the obverse. So the obverse, which is the front is always the queen, is my understanding, is good looking. And this is actually what caught my eye, like because it was catching the light at the coin shop, and I was like, what is that? And I knew it was some type of coin, probably like Australian. And then of course they flipped it over. It was the Kangaroo. But very happy with that as a purchase. And I mean, pretty much everything that I was able to pick up at the coin shop, I felt like was a good buy. But with these prices swinging back and forth, I mean, it's crazy. And it's funny. It made me think of like stackers. Stackers actually have a lot of positive attributes as far as their mentality. Because as a stacker, you know what? Honestly, like I at times will play devil's advocate for a lot of things, as I've been told by Bionic Fishy Fish. But the reason is because I try to look at everything from like all sides. I don't just sit there and put myself into the echo chamber of like people who think like me. I try to look at where could I be wrong, what could I be thinking of differently, to see like what kind of value those kind of things have. And what I was thinking about lately with like the stocking community is with investments at a time like this when people are panicking because there's blood in the streets on a daily basis with the market. When you really look at it, the market really hasn't gone lower than it did in February. It's just been bouncing around in a range, bouncing back and forth. And just, people get so caught up in like seeing dollar loss in their portfolios, like for example with stocks, that they freak out and they make emotional decisions to their detriment, because they tend to, you tend to get out at the bottom of the market or near the bottom, and then as soon as you get out a few weeks later, the market turns around and yeah, you're that guy that never got back in. So like things like that, like again, very common, very very common, and I see it and hear about it all the time. And so with the stacking community, the great part is that you hear a lot about the hype. Myself, I'm always like trying to avoid the hype, like, oh, silver's going to 100, silver's, you're gonna run out, we're gonna run out of silver, you're not gonna be able to get any. Those kind of things, those kind of like, tactics to drive interest in stacking. It's just, to me, not only is it lazy, but also it's like a detriment to the stacking community, because like really, when you talk to the real stackers who understand the big picture, you ask a stacker like when prices are going up, well, I'm gonna hold my stack. You ask a stacker when the prices are going down, good, I'll buy more. As with regard to spot. And then obviously we've seen the whole premium issue that we've had the last couple of years. But that being said, that's a good mentality to have with something that you consider to be an investment, even if you don't consider it an investment. So myself, like I said, I look at it more as like a hedge than anything. It holds its value. It's a good way to save over time. Great, excellent. But I mean, especially if you're doing it as an investment, that's the mentality that you want to have. That's the one that's going to lead to success in the long run, as opposed to making emotional decisions. Speaking of emotional decisions, as we've all heard now, that the silver raid is coming. Mixed emotion, like the enthusiasm, don't necessarily like the mechanism, don't see that it's going to have the desired effect. I did watch a video, I think it was from Silver Wolverine earlier, where he was saying like if you're into the silver raid, you probably want to not watch this video and unsubscribe from his channel. It was pretty funny. But I think there's a lot of that sentiment. I think with the silver squeeze, like myself, I was pretty outspoken, like that I personally didn't feel like it was going to do anything, and I still don't feel like it did much, but I applaud the effort, and I do like the enthusiasm at the end of the day, because it shows that there's passion towards it. My big pet peeve on that would be the speculators coming to just hey, we're gonna flip this and make a profit. That's okay, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, but particularly with a physical asset like precious metals, especially silver, I mean, if you do that kind of thing, you're just driving up the premium. The bullion dealers, are licking their chops waiting for this thing to happen. As it is, they're taking a good cut every time we make a purchase. So when I see this kind of stuff, it's just like, Now, if one of them actually succeeded, as opposed to, the bust that I consider the original silver squeeze to be, then I'd be like, hey, honestly, like if it drove to the right price, great, liquidate my stack, no problem. I wouldn't be scared that I couldn't get it back and things like that. But we'll see how that one plays out. I mean, again, mixed emotions, but I'm trying not to be negative on it. We'll see. If it's the same thing, I guess, as the original silver squeeze, then I think I would start to turn into like a silver Wolverine, where I just have a negative outlook on it. But we'll see. Anyway, just wanted to show you those additions to my stack and let you know my thoughts.